Okay. Yep. We are live now. So, friends, welcome to today's session. Just changing a bit of settings so that there is no disturbance within the same. I'm not disabled the waiting room. Dr. Bhavna and Dr. Vanna are the co-hosts for today. They'll be admitting the participants as in when they join. So, allow me to share my screen so that we can begin the session. I hope I'm audible. Let me know, please, once I share my screen. Is the screen visible, Dr. Vanna, Dr. Bhavna?
Oh, yes.
Okay, great. Am I audible also?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Friends, welcome to medical legal negligence session of in dentistry on a national holiday. It is Mahatma Gandhi's, the father of nation, and Lal Bahadur Shastri's birthday. And about four of my friends also share their birthday today with them, and of course three group members as well. So happy birthday to all of you, and I really hope that this national holiday brings about some changes in today's session. So all my presentations always begin with thanking the Lord Almighty, who's given me much more than what I deserve, and it is courtesy him only that I am sitting here sharing with you guys. So this is my brief biodata, and this yellow line in the center, my say PG diploma in medical law and ethics from National Law School of India, University, Bangalore, uh, done in 2009-10. It's the courtesy which I'm sharing with you. Before going to the National Law School, I didn't know the E of ethics or say N of negligence. Of course, I had a faint idea, but didn't have any detailed information about it. But yes, all my say sensory organs were opened up brightly as I passed out from there. And believe me, it is a grilling school. It doesn't let you pass easily. So welcome to session number 14 of free and paid groups, medical legal negligence in dentistry, as a part of my endeavor or an experiment to gauge the audience response, which I've been doing since August now, and it will be continuing till December, and the final call would be taken next year as to what to do with these kind of sessions. So what all we'll be covering today: medical legal negligence and reaction to various situations, and what all acts fall under negligence. So just try to pay attention, and of course I'll be willing to say share my say time with you in the end for all kinds of queries whichever you have. So don't worry about that part. So, what exactly is negligence? It is basically say not paying due attention, not paying proper care and attention, or maybe culpable carelessness. Has been derived from a Latin word negligo, or which means neglect. And the basic understanding of this is that we actually didn't care for the patient, or we overlooked the need of the same, or didn't pay attention to, or disregarded the same. So, Sir John Salmon's Law of Torts was one of the first initial books on, uh, say, negligence. A tort basically means a wrong, a civil wrong which has been committed. And this book came as early as 1907, almost 113 years ago. And so, as per Sir John's words, negligence is omission to do what a reasonable man would do under a reasonable set of circumstances. We are not supposed to do something extraordinary, but something which any ordinary man using an ordinary skill set under a reasonable set of circumstances would be doing or should be doing. And if we fail to do that, we actually fall into the ambit of negligence. So remember, this is a standard of reasonable care, not of perfection. There might be different say or parallel views or parallel modes of treatment available for a single tooth. For example, a root canal. For example, a root canal in an anterior tooth. The rotary root canal and the manual root canal both are an acceptable way. Just because an alternate way of treatment is available, it does not render the original treatment say path invalid. Because for example, in this case, uh, anterior root canal used to be performed with manual instruments, but now yes, rotary has taken over in a big way for most of the treatments. but for still for interior, you can still proceed in a manual way. So what does that mean is that your way, if somebody does it in a manual way, still now it does not render that treatment invalid, because the courts will take that into account whether the procedure involved has been actually differing from the standard of care. And negligence is different from mistake or an error of judgment. You have to remember that. So it may be a breach of duty, as it is called by the law, and this breach of duty actually gives the patient a right to initiate the action against negligence. So that is the reason we are actually supposed to provide a good level of, or say higher level of quality care. And if we do not do that, we are actually acting maliciously by providing substandard care or falling below the requisite standard. And these all can have far-reaching complications. Of course, in most of our cases, can be injuries, but in physicians' cases, can be even death. But yes, even God forbid, death can happen in our cases also for any allergy to local anesthesia or any other such circumstance. That is the reason it falls under the ambit of standard of skill set. The broad reasons of negligence: the dentists fail to update themselves. We are sitting in our clinic with the old knowledge. Not, I'm not talking of you, but in general for many of our colleagues passing out from college and never ever touch say attending any of the CDs or any of the seminars to update themselves. It was in 19th on 19th of September 2018, almost 2 years ago, when there was an update made in the, say, DCI revised code of ethics guidelines 2014, that if you are not updating yourself by the requisite CD points or knowledge, you are actually you will be deemed as doing a unethical task. So on one hand we actually fail to update, and on second hand the population has a smartphone within palm's reach, which is say aided with the help of Dr. Google or Google Uncle as we call it. They are actually becoming more aware of their rights, and that is the reason actually more say malpractice suits are happening. So if we talk of negligence in a other way, a simple lack of care or an error of judgment will actually is not a proof of negligence or a say on part of any of other healthcare professional. So as long as we follow the practice which is acceptable as the, say, requisite standard of care, we cannot be held guilty for liable for negligence. And believe me, the courts are not competent enough to decide that. They refer it to an independent medical or a dental board which actually decides that. And once that board decides the same, gives the opinion whether the doctor is guilty or not, the courts make their decision on the basis of that. So, what are the two actual, say, major counts of negligence? Either you are not possessing the skill that you possessed. You publicize yourselves as an oral surgeon. Let's suppose you publicize yourself as an oral surgeon, whereas you are not, or you have not been properly trained for that as well, and you were found wanting. Maybe you fractured a jaw. Maybe you say did any other mistake. We'll be taking those things, or you did have that skill but you did not exercise the competence or the reasonable, as I said, a reasonable skill required to use in that reasonable skill set of circumstances. That is the thing that is desirable of all of us. And if we either we are not having that skill or not exercising that skill, we fall guilty on both those counts. So there are actually not three but four essential components of negligence. The number one is you owed a duty of care to the patient. There was a breach of duty. That breach of duty resulted in a damage, and that damage can be actually say approximated or say be linked over to that. This is the reason we actually say can make the connection between those two things. So negligence is a wrong or a tort which is the breach of duty to take care, so that it resulted in a damage. Just look at this image again. So the basic elements required for the claim of dental negligence. The dentist owed the duty of care. The dentist breached that duty. The patient suffered damage, and the breach was proximate of patient's damage. If I may simplify this chart to you, or the four elements to you in a simple way, uh, you attempted a 3-8 left lower third molar. The patient had trismus on the right side, maybe 2 weeks after your surgery. Any reason, the patient does a claim or say negligence suit on you. Obviously, if it is referred to the board, there will be definitely no claim made out of it, because the surgery was performed on 3-8. If the say paralysis or paresis or whatever happens on the forehead side, obviously we know that the nerve supply of the right and the left side is different. So that is the way. The connection has to be there. Unless there is a connection, you cannot actually say hold a dentist guilty. So proportion of dentists announced guilty in dental negligence cases. Highest in Iran, 100%. Italy 74%, Turkey 57, Australia 54, Brazil 47, Finland 46, and India in the range of 40%, 39.63. So again, this is not a low percentage, and majority of these are happening in metropolitans. And we actually need to realize that what is important in such cases is that we pay due attention to the patient standard of care. So again, those things, there was a standard, we owed a certain standard of care via the contract between the patient and the dentist. It might be an unspoken contract, need not be a written contract. We didn't maintain that standard, a breach, and there was an injury resulting from the lack of care, causation, and a connection between the negligent act and the resultant injury. A proximity for the damages to be accorded or awarded to the plaintiff. A plaintiff, patient, petitioner, complainant all mean the same thing. Plaintiff, complainant, patient, petitioner. One who makes a complaint is that. And you are the respondent, the doctor, uh, in that sense. So, what are the basic say negligence or the liable headings which all the doctors or the dentists fall under? One is tortious liability, then contractual liability, criminal liability, and statutory liability. These are the four heads which under which say dentists can be held, or that even the doctors can be held liable. Just have a look. Let's just have a look briefly at all of these. So tortious liability is basically, again, as I said, tort is basically a wrong. So illegal duty to take care which results in damage. But again, the onus is on the patient to prove that the damage was due to negligence. Nobody can walk in the court and say anything, and it will be say the dentist will be on the wrong side. Remember, the patient still has to prove that. The problem with us is that sometimes we fall say guilty on the contractual part as well, because we stop the treatment sometimes because of lack of payment. We have to understand that if once we start the payment or once we start the treatment, even if the patient does not pay, the duty of care still remains on us to provide to the patient. But then the plaintiff or the patient or the complainant has to actually prove that you did not exercise the requisite standard of care. Because as I said, the courts also expect the same from all of us. The says requisite reasonable man under a reasonable set of circumstances. So whether we have used that or not, the courts take the advantage of a expert medical or a dental board. So the damage has to be proved, that the doctor was indeed negligent, and it is not easy to prove some of the times. Believe me, I have a friend in working in civil services. I have given example of that guy many times in my say workshops wherever I do. So that person, he's a good friend of mine as well. He has saved a person from three separated instruments in three separate canals. You can say अगर एक instrument टूटा, it can be mistake, दो में इंस्ट्रूमेंट टूटा या सेपरेट हुआ, इट कैन बी मिस्टेक. और अगर तीनों में इंस्ट्रूमेंट टूट गए ऑफ अ लोअर मोलर, फॉर एग्जांपल इफ नॉट 4 canals, if having 3 canals, that is gross negligence. You can't be actually doing that again and again. But that guy was lucky, and that my friend was there in the dental board, and he made a way out for him. But then there are claims made by patients like, इन्होंने मुझे अटेंड नहीं किया, या मेरे से पहले किसी और को अटेंड कर लिया, या जो मेरे को ट्रीटमेंट रिसीव किया वो सब स्टैंडर्ड था, घटिया था. These all actually have to be substantiated by a, say, strong evidence. Otherwise, they fail to find a firm footing in the court. You have to really justify that your health actually deteriorated because of that. So this part is tortious liability is two types. Number one is the primary tortious liability. Any negligence done in a clinic or a hospital is called the primary liability. And usually, as it is a civil liability, the damage is in form of compensation by cash. So this is the primary tortious liability. And another one is the vicarious liability. The vicarious liability is actually, if I summarize in one line, the master is responsible for the acts done in his premises. If I just simplify it for you, if you're working in a clinic, if you're having a consultant, if you're having a visiting surgeon, irrespective of whosoever signs on the consent form, please pay attention, irrespective of whosoever signs on the consent form, if anything goes wrong, you will be guilty, because the patient walked into your clinic. You are the owner of the clinic. The associate of the visiting works under you. You will be held guilty under the head of vicarious liability. So choose your consultants or visiting surgeons wisely. So again, the same happens to in the hospital. These days, many, say, hospitals, when they employ dentists, they actually insist on the dentist getting a professional indemnity policy for himself, so that God forbid anything say is done by the dentist, uh, he can actually, the say, hospital doesn't have to pay the damages. So if the dentist admits the patient in his personal capacity, then the dentist will be fully liable. So the contractual liability is actually, the second is the contractual liability after the tortious one. Uh, there is a implied contract between the dentist and the patient. We have to remember that. And any breach of this means that the dentist is under the duty to treat and not terminate, even if the patient does not pay. You have to continue what you continue and finish what you started. If you don't do that, you are actually fall under the head of contractual liability, and that is again say civil wrong or a civil tort which you are committing. Then the criminal liability, again, that is a, say, a wide section. Section 304A, culpable homicide, 336, 337, 338, causing hurt, causing grievous hurt. These are the liability which can be penal, and they involve punishment in the form of, say, fine or say imprisonment, both. So this is actually supposed to be a crime against the society and not against only the party. So criminal liability is damageable under this. Again, this is the basic section, so I'm limiting just myself just to the naming of these sections. Otherwise, we go into detail of all those sections. Then the statutory liability. If you actually say bypass any statutory laws by the state, then you become accountable. Maybe the biomedical part, maybe the drug, say, drug act, narcotics act, or any kind of those things. If you commit on those parts, you are actually liable for infringement of statutory liability. So what can be the defense for doctors and dentists in such cases? The defense can be that we always can say that medical and dental science is a dynamic science, and we have actually taken an informed consent telling the procedure of all the fallouts and all the details that certain treatments can fail. But then we try to sometimes take a wrong defense that there was no contract between the party, between the two parties, mean you and the patient, which is sometimes very difficult to refute, because most of the time जब भी कोई negligence का case होता है, the first thing people do is tear off the patient form mat in their hand, and that is the biggest mistake they do actually. So, which is sometimes difficult to refute. So, the only thing is that we need to understand that we have to justify that we prescribe to the requisite standards of care which actually were needed in those cases, and there was no actual injury resulting because of that. Then contributory negligence, the patient did not maintain the instructions which resulted in injury. This can be taken into account many a times, but then the onus is on you to prove that you actually gave the instructions, maybe in written, maybe on website, maybe on telephone, maybe verbal, and you should have some evidence for that, that you are doing that consistently in your clinic. Then the informed consent, the it becomes a savior many a times, that you actually gave no guarantee of cure, and there the patient was informed of all the complications, and the patient willingly accepted those. There has to be a difference between those two things, that there was a decision for the patient to be made, that whether these if undergoing treatment has this advantages and not undergoing has what disadvantages, and thus the patient chose himself. So vicarious responsibility again can be taken as a claim sometimes, that the dentist actually say was, if the patient if the patient makes a complaint in that sense, we try to take a guard that we are not responsible, our associate did it. But to sum it up, a master is responsible for the acts of a servant, not exactly master or servant, of course, but any associate and the owner. And in this case, you are the clinic owner, and your associate does a mistake, you are liable for that under the head of vicarious responsibility. So you can't run away from that. Then respondent superior, that negligence by any subordinate is there when you can be justified that all the acts were done under the supervision of say the superior, and you can't most of the time the residents or the interns can present that kind of defense. Then novus actus interveniens, an act of god, which you can't, this was unforeseen or unlikely, but that happened, and you can't take any preparatory step to prevent it. So if we go by the data, what is actually the percentage of Indian dentists which have been guilty? 2 in 5, which is say 40%. Again, 39.63 as I mentioned. So what all can be the complications? Let's see a brief of all those headings under all our specialties of dentistry, of course. So complications due to oral surgery or extractions, infections requiring hospitalization, lingual nerve severing, inferior alveolar nerve severing, sinus perforation, fractured mandible, TMJ injury, or extraction of a wrong tooth. A very common, very common complaint, extraction of wrong tooth. Then, due to endodontics or say conservative dentistry, most of these procedures, infections which require hospitalization, maybe spacious infections or any other. Then, broken instruments or separated instruments, sinus perforation, nerve damage, other perforations, or air embolism. Then, due to implant procedures, postoperative infections, implants which become unrestorable because of any kind of say the any kind of misplaced implants in angulation, especially nerve damage, sinus perforation, implant loss, or a fractured jaw. All these complications due to implant procedures. Then prosthetics, open margins, overhang restorations, poor occlusion, lack of treatment planning, lack of say judgment in going about the wrong task. For periodontal, say failure to diagnose at a timely in a timely manner, not taking radiographs wherever needed, and we rarely record periodontal probings, at least the general dental surgeons. Then for orthodontics, root resorptions, increased mobility, and ultimately tooth loss, TMJ injury. These are the say complications of the negligence cases in orthodontics. Then anesthesia complication can be fatal sometimes. Any allergic reactions. That is the reason we always say that the patient allergy testing needs to be done, especially in those cases where the patient has no known history of injection. First of all, then other dental injections like nerve injury, then lingual nerve, inferior alveolar nerve, or any adverse drug reactions. TMJ and orthognathic surgeries, oral cancers, and many other miscellaneous forms. These all can be miscellaneous forms of negligence which actually can happen in our clinic. So the main problem is that all of these negligence, let me just go back. The first three, if I talk, extractions and implants constitute round about 49 to 50%. The endodontic 24 to 25%. So all these all these two, if I may say so, implants and oral surgeries included, and endodontics, all these two or three complications included, they constitute about 76 to 78% of all the negligence cases that are happening actually in Indian courts. Rest all constitute roughly 22 to 25%. I'll be sharing data with you for that as well. So the mean compensation basically included for extensive bleeding, pain, swelling, or fractures. Majority of these are the ones which have been causing cases. So what is the duty of care? Even if you are offering a service free of cost to the patient and you're charging other patients, you will be held guilty. That is your duty of care. Except in government hospitals where all treatments are rendered free of cost and only a token money is charged for OPD slip or OPD fees or whatever, 2 rupees, 5 rupees, 10 rupees, that doctor is not guilty. So if you're charging for other patients in your clinic, but you are not you have not charged that patient and committed a negligence, you actually still can be held liable. Then the problem is that we sometimes give an advice of certain things which we are not skilled at. We sometimes try to give a wrong advice. So again, as I said, we don't possess that skill that we profess to have. That is again a wrong thing. The duty of care is always, say, judgmental in those parts. We have to exercise that, and that is what makes it actually necessary to not jump beyond the skill set, not jump beyond the requisite skill set. So whatever reasonable degree of skill and knowledge you can or you should apply, because neither the highest nor the lowest say degree of care is expected. We need to exercise a standard, reasonable, acceptable standard of care. And again, the onus is on the patient to prove that you were actually negligent. The courts will still have a pragmatic approach, and they understand that the dental and the medical treatment is full of risks, and the desired treatments may not be sometimes say achievable. The Supreme Court has categorically mentioned every careless act of a medical man can't be termed as criminal, and only when sorry only when the medical man exhibits a gross lack of competence or inaction or indifference to his patient's safety, then he'll be considered ignorant or gross negligent. Similarly, Delhi High Court cannot be an expert in such cases, and the opinion regarding medical negligence will be given by an independent medical board, which shall have more credibility. And unless the board justifies or holds the doctor guilty, the court cannot begin the case. What does it mean? It means that you have to actually be in good terms with your neighboring dentist as well. Why? Maybe tomorrow he is sitting in the medical dental board. You can rest be assured that he is not going to say kind words about you. Dentist कौन सी मिट्टी के बने? I don't really understand. डेंटिस्ट एक दूसरे के दुश्मन क्यों हैं? कौन सा सब्जेक्ट पढ़ाया जाता है हमें 5 साल में या 4 साल की एजुकेशन और 1 साल की इंटर्नशिप में, that we are cutthroat warriors of each other? I really fail to understand. Where does that fall? So that is the reason we actually need to realize that. Then mean compensation claimed. These are the different amounts of different specialities. You can see all the numbers. They are actually the oral surgery and the implants holds the maximum numbers. So the liability is basically for extractions, root canals, implants, crowns and bridges, failure to diagnose, failure to take care, anesthesia complications, infections, injections, and any adverse drug reactions. Average compensation amount 1 lakh 4,000 roughly. That is not my figure. That is as per the data. You are having the references just below the image. That is the average compensation awarded in Indian dental negligent cases. It has been more. It has been more. It can be less as well. But then this is the amount which has been awarded. So dentists and doctors always remember, as I mentioned, just because an alternative line of treatment is available, does not mean that what you did is incorrect. You have to say stick to your path. I face this situation. I'll be sharing it afterwards when I take up the queries part. So again, dental x-rays should be routine, and if any patient refuses an x-ray, document it in the patient chart or in your record. And referrals also to be documented by placing a copy of a referral slip separately in the patient chart. Again, a smoking history is a red flag. You need to remember that. So an established standard of care has to be followed, which is there existent as per the DCI code of regulations, and especially the metro practicing dentists. These are the things which are more common actually in the metropolitans. So as I mentioned about, oral surgery and implants constitutes 50.45% of all negligence cases. Endo 26. So both of these combined roughly 77% or 76.45. So that leaves almost say 23.5% for the remaining specialties. But then why do patients do that? Why do patients actually do that? Wrong and pleasant outcomes, we discussed that. Bleeding, pain, swelling, fracture, these are the most uncommon say components which have been there. Or we are negligent during treatment or documentation, record keeping, that becomes your big savior. Wrong tooth treatment, a most common report, especially in tier 2, tier 3 or villages cities. Then the biggest part, consent related issues. And believe me, we are found wanting at least on two counts, either documentation or consent. We might be say correct in other parts, but believe me, documentation also needs to do that. So this is the most common dental treatment which is involved in litigation, extractions. So what exactly are the golden rules? Communication, first consultation. Documentation, making a note in your record keeping. Communication of the documentation, informing the patient of the consent. Documentation of communication, the informed consent signatures. And preservation of documentation, preserving the records. These are actually a must for every clinician, every physician, every dentist. So what are the situations which do not fall under the negligent acts? You didn't provide an ambulance due to non-availability if you're in hospital or a physician, or if you didn't obtain a consent in an emergency, or if the patient is dissatisfied with the progress of treatment, or if you preferred one patient over another, or if you charged more, or if the patient didn't get the desired relief. These are not negligent acts. Remember these things. So most of the times actually dentists get fearful of these factors. पेशेंट से पैसे ज्यादा ले लिए, काम सही किया, you are not negligent. So most problems happen when you actually fail to warn, fail to diagnose, and fail to monitor, or fail to take care of the patient, or improper treatment. So if the dentist fails to treat the patient in a manner in which any competent dentist will do, you will actually say be guilty. Then what is the prevention? Be up to date of the neo treatment modalities. Exercise reasonable care and skill. Do not jump beyond your skill set. Keep accurate and complete records. Employ qualified staff and associates. Obtain valid consent. Poor record is poor defense. No record is no defense. So जो आप पर्ची फाड़ देते हैं पेशेंट की, whenever the case happens, remember you are digging your own grave yourself. So it is observed that in judgment, the focus is on treatment method or formulation or execution rather than the treatment outcome alone. There can be a wrong way, there can be a right way, and there can be a my way. And bad choices can actually mess up your destiny. So thank you for your patience. I know there will be many queries with all of you. So just before I say stop my share for the queries, just a couple of announcements. So today is the MLE negligence basic section. Tomorrow there will be finance basics part 5, and Monday feedback in communication. And after that, we're done with the season 1. So the timings remain the same for Saturday and Monday, 7:30 p.m. and after that the next sessions will be after Diwali, 15th of November, after that. So as this video is streaming on YouTube, on my page on FB as well, so people who are actually watching it, if you want to see other videos, uh, I'm uploading all these sessions on YouTube. You can go to YouTube and search for my channel, Dr. Bhavdeep Oja, and subscribe. And this is my social media presence, all going by my name, Dr. Bhavdeep, without any name space, without any space underscore icon, and all go by my name, Dr. Bhavdeep, except the Facebook page that goes by Dr. Bhavdeep Ahuja. So as I mentioned, so this is my email and phone number if you want to get in touch with me. So those of you who are attending on every page and are not my WhatsApp group members, if you wish to be, you can actually say, send a message to me. I will add you to that. Apart from that, I run a paid group as well. So that is for the payment of 3,500. All the proceeds go to my NGO, CFC Can Fight Cancer. So thank you, and I'll always appreciate your feedback. If you can send it to me, I'll be really say happy to do, or post it in the WhatsApp group wherever you are. So thank you once again, and I stop my share for the queries, whatever you are having. Yes, just a minute. You can unmute yourselves and ask your queries if there are any. Since there it was a negligence basic section session, I didn't say add too much of intricacies in that, because there ought to be a lot of questions whenever I take these sessions. So I always try that these I stick to basics in these sessions. Yes, please, any of the queries, if you are willing to ask, I'm there. In the meantime, I can take up the same from my page as well, if there are any. Any queries, or all clear, or all not clear?
Hi, Dr. Baldeep.
Yes, Dr. Prabhu.
There are many times that you cannot retrieve the instrument. Sometimes situations are there like that. In those situations, how do we defend ourselves?
Sir, it is a process actually. What I advise first of all is that we need to cover all those such aspects in the informed consent part. That there can be a mishap or there can be a complication of a separated instrument. Number one. Number two, you are supposed to, and God forbid this happens. Number two, you are supposed to inform the patient.
Yes.
Number three, you can't run away from that. You have to take first aid for that. First aid means involving the specialist or the consultant for that. And for that, even if the consultant is not able to do that, remember you are actually not guilty of not taking say due consideration for that. You will not be held guilty for that. Then the choice lies on the patient whether he wants to continue with the tooth as it is or wants to extract the tooth. But if the remember, there is a very thin line between negligence and complication. People find that separation of instrument is a complication of a root canal. It is a complication, but if the patient is informed of it prior and after the procedure, those two things. So if the patient comes to know from a third party, the patient still has pain, आपने फिर ऐसे ही कर दिया. The patient comes to know from a third party there is a separated instrument. That is negligence. But if you inform the patient before and after and take a due consideration for that, charging or not charging is a secondary question. That is ideally, I believe you should not. Ideally, I believe you should not, but there is no legal bar on charging for, say, retrieval of or bypassing of that instrument. So even some patients are skeptical, even if you bypass that instrument. कि अभी है तो अंदर ही ना, अंदर पड़ा पड़ा infection करेगा. So sometimes those things also happen. So you really need to understand those parts in that. But if you take due consideration in doing whatever as the sequence I mentioned, you will not be held guilty as per law. But if the pain comes to you from a third party, you are surely guilty.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. Dr. Harshada has mentioned in the chat, as I was listening to this webinar, I was being reminded of all the times I could have been sued by my patients, although I was taking consents right from the start of my practice, but they were all journalized consents. Yes, a blanket consent. I took a consent session, I think 10 days back with IDE Kodangalur branch, and importance of customized consent form. All of those of you who haven't watched that video, you can watch that. A blanket consent form, meaning I hereby, I so and so authorized doctor so and so to undergo all the treatment, and I will not hold him guilty in any court of law, is actually known as a blanket consent, which is not valid in the court of law. You need to have a customized consent form, and if you have not watched that video of customized consent, you can go to my YouTube channel and search for it and watch that video. So, going to okay, Dr. Madhavi. Hello, sir. Are we supposed to mention the truth to be extracted in the patient's words on consent form? No, ma'am. The consent can be actually in your terminology which you are using in your clinic. It can be in the patient language as well in the brackets. Let's suppose the patient doesn't have a third molar, and you are say going to extract a decade 3/6. Let's suppose. So you can mention left lower second last tooth. So you can do that in the bracket, but otherwise you can use your own terminology. So there is nothing wrong in that, in doing your in using your own terminology. What is acceptable all over. We all actually say make a mistake of taking these things very lightly. I always those four factors which we have mentioned, treating the wrong tooth, or say not taking due attention or not taking care of the patient, we might be doing that. But the two things which are many of us are not doing, the record keeping and the consent part. So we need to pay attention to that. Consent I've already covered last week in a say short session, not so short, but almost an hour plus session with IDE Cordingular branch. I'll be taking up some part of record keeping in the season two in the mid of November in a webinar if I get over the topics on demand. So any more queries? Okay then. Thank you so much for your kind attention. Please do post your feedback in the respective WhatsApp groups wherever you are. So see you tomorrow for finance basics part 5. And believe me, it will be a cakewalk for any beginner or newcomer, whatever you are going to see tomorrow. A lot many new slides tomorrow, just like today. So many of those who have attended negligence sessions before also, at least 60 to 70% slides were new today out of the total slides. So see you all tomorrow 7:30 and again Monday. So that will be end of season 1. So thank you so much and take care and good night.